Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Oddly Specific. I'm your host, Meredith Lynch, and I am so excited today because we have on the Billie Lee. I call her Sweet Billie Lee. I always call her Sweet Billie Lee because she really is one of the kindest people that I have ever met. And she is not just kind. She's also a comedian, an author, a former Bravo TV star, a friend of the pod. Billie Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, that was such a sweet intro.
Well, you're such a sweet person.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah.
First of all, how are you doing today?
Good. It's been like full force, go, go, go. Like even if I'm not promoting the book, I have a bunch of meetings. So I'm excited. You know, when you get busy and, you know, for me, I know when I'm really busy is when I'm like really excited about the weekend. Like it's Friday. Like, so yeah, I'm just happy that the weekend is soon and we can chill.
But like, do you have a weekend? Because you're a comic.
Yeah, well, right now I'm not doing as much comedy. I've been saying no to a lot of shows just so I can focus on my book, and I produce other TV and film projects. But I am moving to New York for a few months, and so I'm going to get more into the comedy scene there. I just want to wait until like my book's out, which is in September. So I'm just focusing on getting that out first.
Yes. You became a household name on Vandepump Rules, and now you're in comedy. So how did you go from reality to comedy?
It happened by accident. I never considered myself anyone that's talented. I just like never had that dream. But I sold a pilot, a half-hour comedy to ABC Disney. We lost it to the writer's strike. But within that time of me selling it and us developing it, my team was like, Billie, if you're going to be writing and possibly starring in a half-hour comedy, you should probably take some comedy classes. And my writing partner at the time was like, oh my God, you should meet this girl, Lisa, of Pretty Funny Women.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. I know Pretty Funny Women. Yeah.
And I loved the fact that it was women and it made me more comfortable. And so, yeah, I took her class and I had no intentions of performing. But she was like, oh my God, your timing, your point of view. And then I just kept on getting booked and booked and booked. And I'm like, I feel like I jumped on this comedy train that's moving really fast and it's not stopping. And I'm enjoying it. Yeah. But like it happened by accident. I literally never in my life was like, I'm going to be a comedian.
But were you funny growing up?
I've heard from multiple people and my whole life that I'm funny and that I'm quick and I'm good with timing.
Why do you think you are that way?
I think it has to do with like my family. Like my dad is like really funny and quick. I feel like I'm very much like him. But also I just like, even whenever I was bullied a lot, like I would try to quickly get it back at him, you know, like I would pull something, like if it was like their breath, like I would just do something where it changed the attention from me being bullied to everyone laughing at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that probably is true for a lot of comedians? Because I was bullied so much growing up. And I feel like the Venn diagram of comedians being bullied is probably a circle.
Yeah. I know. I feel like, I mean, you know, the rumor or people talk about like comedians, you're fucked up if you're a comedian. Like,
oh, yeah.
You know.
But like, you're fucked up if you're anyone, right?
Literally,
like, who is existing in the world right now and isn't fucked up, okay?
Right. But also, like, I'm single and like, a lot of comedians hit on me or like want to date. And my friends are always like, don't date a comedian. Like, don't you hear that?
Thankfully, I still have a husband.
Yes.
We don't know, though. He's, you know. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wait, what?
He told me to say hi.
Oh, yeah, no, he's the sweetest. I was like, wait,
he's a sweet one. No, I'm really lucky. But no, I do hear that a lot in the scene. I mean, here's the thing that would be hard about dating a comedian. First of all, I always say like one headshot per household.
That's good, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
But also like the hours. Like I get home from doing comedy at like midnight and I'm like unhinged and I have my like Jersey Mike sub and like you need somebody else who's not coming home feral.
It's like grounding you.
Yes.
Yeah. No, when I date someone outside of the business, it's very refreshing.
Yeah.
However, I do like to feel inspired and I like the creative process. So when someone is creative or inspires me, I'm so turned on. Yeah. So.
Okay, then we'll find you like a painter or something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
no, an artist. Yeah, totally. I know, because I love actors. I've dated a few actors in my acting class.
Yeah.
And that got me into, I mean, I joke about it now, but like younger guys are just attracted to me. I'm like, you're 23. Can you calm down? Like, yeah, I don't get it. I hear like older women, like younger guys are attracted to older women. I literally have like crushes all around me when I'm in acting class. It's bizarre.
I'm not surprised. because you have great energy. You're beautiful and you have great energy. I also wonder if like younger guys have more of a sense of respect.
Mm-hmm. They totally do. And they're more open-minded with the trans thing. It's just like whatever to them. It's not even like...
So is it Gen Z?
Yeah.
Are these Gen Z? I love Gen Z.
Yeah, I know. But I feel like my assistant's Gen Z. Sammy, my co-host, is Gen Z. I have a lot of Gen Zs around me. So I guess if I dated one, why not?
Right?
I mean, I'm not right now, but we'll see.
What do you think is like the thing that people get wrong the most about comedy?
I always thought that it was kind of like they just went up there and was... Or I think people think this too, where it's just like there's nothing scripted, nothing written. They're just like going up there and like being funny. Like that's kind of what I always thought. And like some of my family members was like, oh wait, you have to write it and there's a process. I'm like, yes. Like even though I've been funny in my life and like people call me funny, like for stand up, like I feel like it's a form, an art. Like you have to really like, and I love the writing process of comedy. Like I get these like things happen to you in everyday life and you're like, oh my God, I have to write this down. And then I work with my comedy coach and we just get a really good joke together. And then I memorize it and then you have to say it like you're saying it for the first time.
Right. That's the thing, because people can tell when you sound really scripted. It's really, and even though people be like, well, so yeah, what? Like you have it in your head and you start to like almost read it if you have it too memorized. And the other thing I think people don't realize is like so many things make the room. Like how bright are the lights? Who's sitting in the front row? How cold is it? How hot is it? How low is this? Like it's like a formula.
It is. And like the vibe, because you can literally have the exact same set, but completely different experiences if it's two separate nights or two separate audiences. But like the night that I did at the Barbie show, when you were there, like that crowd was so good. It was such a fun night for me. And I literally was like my stomach hurt and I thought I was going to throw up. I couldn't even like drink wine or anything. I just felt really nauseous the whole day. And then I had a headache. And as soon as I went on stage, it was like that all went away and I had so much fun.
That's what Kathy says about being on stage too. She said that being on stage is really comforting to her. It's very grounding for her. And I think like you're getting to a place in your career where the stage is comforting. I'm still at this point where like when I am on stage, I feel good. I'm nervous before I get on. And then when I get off, I feel like I feel like I could climb Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a rush afterwards, but I want to get to that point where like I get on stage and like I just feel that comfort, that grounded. It's just so cool to see you in this career.
Thank you. I love it. I took a year to like really get comfortable, like where I'm not like freaking out, but now I'm really enjoying it. But here's the thing, I get shit for sitting down on the stool. And like for me, like I ground, I feel so comfortable. I love sitting and talking with people. And some of my favorite compliments are people come up to me and they're like, I feel like I was sitting in your living room and we were having a conversation. And I'm like, that is like what you want. You want people to feel that comfortable. But like from my teacher, people I've gone on tour with, people have literally called me, like big comedians, and be like, hey, I want to give you a little tip on like not sitting down. I'm like, the stool's there for a reason. Like,
people also don't realize like that stool. Like I was doing a show the other night and I didn't see a stool on the stage before I went on. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm just going to have to leave. Yeah. Like if you don't have a stool, you are done. Because whether it's leaning on it, sitting on it, that's for your notes, that's for your phone.
Yeah.
Like people don't understand. And also too, like if the mic stand is off, like all these little things. I actually love you sitting on the stool because the other thing too is like we're so used to like the big comedians, right? Who like we see and they get the Netflix special and like that's amazing. That's great. But like we're also getting to a point where it's a lot more like storytelling happening in comedy. And that's what I think you do. You take us on a bit of a journey.
Really? Because okay, that's the best compliment.
Yes.
Okay, because I see people that are telling a story and I'm like, I want to be more like that.
You are telling a story.
Yeah, okay.
You are telling a story. And I think when you sit on the stool, it signifies that. To me, too, like sitting on the stool, you don't do it right away. Usually, right? Like usually you talk for a little bit and then it's sort of like we're easing into it with you. Just like some people... now we're like getting in the weeds, but like maybe people like the little inside baseball. Some people don't take the mic stand away right away, right? Like some people are like, they'll keep it for like a minute or two and then they, I think you have to be really confident to do that, by the way. So like, I'm like the second I get up there, I'm like, okay, gotta move the mic stand. I think it's great And I also think like, don't let people put you in a box.
I know. Thank you. I've literally people try to put me in a box my whole life. And I'm just like, sometimes I might feel like I lose an opportunity if people see me sit down. But like, I'm like, that's what I love. And I've seen like guy comedians kill it, and they'll literally sit on the stool and they'll have the stand here and they're all like spreading their legs and hanging on to it. I'm like literally crazy. And I'm just chilling. Like, I'm grounding. I'm having a good time. So
there are definitely female comedians who utilize the stool. There's somebody, I just can't think of it right now, who I saw using the stool the other day. So we need to like figure out who that is. For example, like until very recently, Kathy always just stood at the mic. She would never like hold the mic. Now she uses a headset because of her voice, but it's like, let me carve out my own journey and be unique. So anyway, if anyone's listening that's giving Billie any shit for her stool, you can take it up with Meredith Lynch. Much scarier. But I want to also talk to you about your book, which I have right here. Why Are You So Sensitive? Navigating Everyday Unintended Microaggressions. And you wrote this with somebody else, Dr. Gina C. Torino.
Yes, Torino.
And I inhaled this book. And do you want to know why?
Why?
Because it's written really well for a person with ADHD.
Yeah, I know, right? It is.
No, it's a really important topic. And, you know, I was reading a little bit. I know about microaggressions. I worked for a social justice organization, but I was reading a little bit more about what microaggressions are. And one of the things I think that I get a lot of shit for on TikTok is people saying to me like, oh, you're part of the new woke media. And the thing that's so interesting about microaggressions, which the term is used for commonplace verbal, behavioral, or environmental slights, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative attitudes towards those of different races, cultures, beliefs, or genders. I find really interesting the fact that this term was coined by Dr. Chester Pierce, who was a Harvard psychiatrist in 1970. So when people come at me or come at you and say, oh, this is just like your new woke media, you guys like AOC, I'm like, why do you always have to like label us with like a random, like she's not even our representative.
Right.
But, you know, this has existed for longer than we were alive. And I found this to be so interesting about Dr. Pierce, who coined the term, because he was witnessing a lot of non-Black Americans who were inflicting this on Black Americans. Well, you know what Dr. Pierce became? To me, this was mind-blowing.
Okay.
So he is one of the founders of Black Psychiatrists of America. And what he thought is, why don't we take mass media? Why don't we take television and use that as a radical therapeutic intervention to go against like these stereotypes that are happening? So do you know where he went and worked?
Where?
Sesame Street in 1970.
What?
He was working on Sesame Street. He was a senior advisor to the show. I don't know about you, but like I was raised on Sesame Street. I'm a child of the 80s. Like my parents were like, you're going to be fine with like Ocean Spray cranberry juice and a bunch of fucking TV.
Yeah.
And mostly I am, right? Like people are probably listening to this. They're like, ma'am, you are not. Like you just like basically put out a death threat for Billie using a stool. You are unwell. But I just thought that was so interesting and just such an important point.
Yeah.
So what made you want to write this book?
I've always been told my whole life that I'm too sensitive. And it's, you know, microaggressions they've been around for a long time. But since I was little, I experienced microaggressions, but like I never knew the word. I never understood what exactly it was. And then when I started Vanderpump, I experienced microaggressions from people I looked up to, co-stars, bosses, fans, and they were disguised as compliments, which was the most challenging thing because when I tried to correct the person, they were like, sweetie, stop being so sensitive. Like, you know, get over it.
It's just a joke.
It's just a joke. Or, you know, like one of the things that got me the most was people would be like, I can't get over you're so pretty, but like, how are you prettier than me and I'm a real woman?
Ooh.
So and like, again, they think they're complimenting me. They mean well. I don't think a lot of times the harm is intended at all, but it would leave me feeling a certain type of way. And I had these conversations within my trans community and I have an activism background and I've done plenty of research with different projects in my life. And yeah, I was like, I need to talk about this. And when my team was like, what's important to you? And like, what do you want to write about? And I knew I didn't want it to be all about me. I do start and end every chapter. And I do go into a lot of personal stuff about my own experience. but I wanted to include everyone, like as many people that I know. And I know a ton of celebrities and activists.
Oh my gosh, there's some amazing people in this book, like Gigi Gorgeous,
Yeah,
who we love.
I know.
Yeah. And one of the things that like really hit me right away when I was reading this is you actually start off the book by admitting to making a microaggression.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we all make them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like no one, I make them. I also realize that like I hold a ton of privileges. Like I am about as privileged as somebody can get, other than a straight white heterosexual cisgendered man.
Yeah.
I'm right underneath. Right.
And because I'm cis assuming and I'm white, I come with so many privileges too. So I very much recognize that as well, which is one reason why I wanted to include other people, because I know I come with my own privilege.
Yeah. And what the book does is it does such a good job of like giving examples, and then you'll bring in another one of these people like a Gigi Gorgeous to tell their own story. And then this is what I love about this book is that after every single one of these stories, we get an expert take.
Yeah.
The expert take to me is like when I see something on TikTok and I'm like, that's weird, right? And then I go in the comments and like one of my brilliant TikTokers is in the comments and is like validating the experience and is like, yeah, that really wasn't okay or whatever. Like that's what the expert take is.
Yeah.
When you talk about things like microaggressions with people who have done them to you, like, hey, actually, like, I know that wasn't your intention, but like that didn't feel good. How does that usually go?
Yeah, I think that's the most challenging thing. It's kind of like those hard conversations, you know? It's like that you need to have them. And once you have them, it feels better. I always like to think of the approach as calling people in and not calling people out. For me, like there are certain people that would be in my life if it was a boss or a coworker or something where you know that it's like constantly coming up. It's not just a stranger or a one time, you know, you're seeing them for the first time and maybe the last. I do try to inform them on like, hey, this is like how I'm feeling. It makes, you know, for instance, with the I'm a real woman, like it's sometimes the compliments would be like, is as if I'm trying to trick you. And, you know, just explaining that kind of makes them be like, oh, wow. And hopefully they'll take that and want to do better. But unfortunately, I've had experiences where the person would get upset with me, call me out for being too sensitive, and then gaslight me. And that is challenging. And you just kind of know that that's where the person is. And again, most of them are unintended and most people will be like, wow, okay, I did not know that. Because like even when I start out the book, I talk about a girlfriend of mine who is a model. She's a mental health advocate. I joked all the time about like being bipolar, meaning I was just like split about something, couldn't decide. Once I learned that, you know, like now I don't say that. Like again, there might be another microaggression that will pop up that I'll be a perpetrator of. But again, I'll try to learn from that experience.
Oh, 1,000%. I can say like I did something maybe 6 months ago that I definitely now in hindsight realized was a microaggression. I was getting treated for something and I was talking to the person who was doing the treatment and I was like, oh, when did you go to nursing school? And she was like, oh, actually, I'm a PA. I'm a physician's assistant. Like I just automatically assumed that she was a nurse. And that is based on my own biases. That's based on my own lived experience too. And so like, I was like, you know, in that moment, I was like, wow, I said to her, I said, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have assumed that you were a nurse. And that's because of like, there's a lot of stereotypical, you know, ideas of who we think a nurse is.
Yeah.
Right? A young woman, people are going to assume that it's a nurse. And I'm sure that people who identify as male that are nurses deal with that all the time.
Totally.
So I think that is like, just, you know, checking that we do it ourselves. Like none of us are above it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called micro.
Exactly. It's okay. Like my team and I were just talking about, because I was telling my publicist, like, you know, the difference between micro and macro. And it's like most of the time micro is unintended. Macro is just a straight out like violating words, can be racism. Like when they're unintended, it's nice to have the conversation and let them know how you're feeling. But I find if people don't want to listen or hear that, and then they keep on acting with that same behavior or providing more microaggressions, then I feel that they can be very macro.
Yeah. And I also think that the comments on social media can be very macro because people feel very brave.
Yes.
And like you were on a reality show. So I can't imagine what that was like. Would you read the comments back then?
Yeah. I mean, When I first started, I would take the comments and just like be so hurt by it. And then I would see stuff in the tabloids and I would watch myself. You know, you'd have to watch the episode back and I hated watching myself. But now because of comedy, it's given me so much confidence. I laugh at the comments now. Like if someone is throwing up, I will literally put a trash can emoji. The comedy has just made me have so much fun with it. And like, I don't take any of it to heart like I used to.
Yeah, I do think that comedy helps you develop a somewhat thicker skin, or like you can respond with some of that humor. And also too, like when you realize that like it's just this faceless person.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, like, I don't know about you, but like when I get mean comments, they're never from like another creator who's like out there putting out content or anything. It's always like user 463274 and their picture is like a picture of their very cute dog. So now like if somebody's really mean to me and they have like a cute dog, I'll be like, okay, cute dog.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
So how was the process of actually working on this book? Because like you said, you love writing comedy. What was this writing experience like for you?
This one was more challenging for sure. Not as fun as comedy. It was hard going down like and talking about such personal things and going down a memory lane. Like I discuss in this book about there was a time when I first transitioned, people couldn't put me in a box if I was a boy or a girl.
Right.
And I couldn't get a job. Like I had this amazing serving resume. I was a server since I was 15 and I would send out my resume and then people would call me in for an interview and be like, you have the best resume. Like, and then they would see me and not hire me. And that put me in a really vulnerable position where I had to do sex work. And I was at such a place in my life where I was like having all this regrets of transitioning just because of the treatment that I was receiving from society. And my dad called me out of the blue and was like, hey, I just want you to know. And he knew nothing, but he's like, if you ever want to wear a dress, I'll walk you down the aisle. Like just the sweetest like confirmation that I was doing the right thing. And most of my microaggressions as a child came from my dad. So it was really
you and your dad
sweet.
have come a long way in your relationship, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I thought it was so interesting in your book. You talk about your parents' experience of knowing each other too. Like your mom is one of 13.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
How do you think that impacted her parenting you to be like from such a big family?
It was definitely chaos all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was just like rooted into my family. Even though it was just my brother and I, like my mom is chaos, but I love her. But yeah, it was, they had me when they were 16. Like they were babies having babies.
Yeah.
But it just like shows that people can learn and grow.
Totally.
And writing stuff like that and pulling stuff out makes you vulnerable and it makes you emotional. And I realized, wow, there's some things that I still need to heal from. And then also I put some embarrassing things in here. Like I am a binge eater and I, when I have like very emotional times or if I'm dealing with rejection, like I will eat like literally a massive bowl of Oreos with almond milk and a fork. I just do things that, and it all stemmed from like my childhood. And I write about that here, but also I experienced so many microaggressions from my eating behaviors from partners that I've dated.
And they just like add up, right? That's the thing I've heard from other people who experience them is like microaggressions are kind of cumulative. Like it's like, oh, you take one and then you kind of take another. And it's like by the end of the week, you're like, oh, it can feel like a weight just like pressing on you.
Exactly.
So I think that's also part of it too, is that even if like you only experience them like a couple times a day, they're cumulative.
Yeah.
Right? How do you self-care when you write?
For me, self-care is grounding, being barefoot, connecting with the planet. Like sometimes we can get so lost in our human experience and like our trauma and even comedy. Like it's rooted in a lot of trauma.
Yes.
I make fun of myself so much with comedy. So it's nice for me to like be in the sand by the beach, just knowing that I'm this tiny little bitty speck on this massive rock. Like I just sometimes have to go there and really connect with planet Earth and just have that time that's away from being Billie Lee, the comedian, the reality, like all of that. And for me, I always feel so much better. Just literally going barefoot. It's like,
I know in the book you talk about like needing a break sometimes when you go home to Indiana and like just going and visiting the animals.
yeah,
Because animals are like a huge part of who you are.
Yeah.
Right. Were you always like an animal person when you were growing up?
Yeah, we always had animals. Like, I remember like one of our dogs like gave birth, had babies like on my bed.
Oh my God.
Like, we grew up in a trailer then, and there was always dogs running around. Like, still to this day, like, if you see my brother and my dad in my hometown, they'll be like riding a bike or something, and there's like 100 dogs following them. Yeah, I've always been an animal lover. And also, just whenever you connect with an animal, it really helps you just be present, you know? Just
I know.
that connection.
I'm a dog girl. Well, I'm an animal person, but like, I have a dog, and I just feel like they can sense our energy too so well. That like, even sometimes if I, experience something, or like if I am, working on writing or something and I'm really feeling stumped, I'll just like go out for a walk with my dog, and even just like 20 minutes outside can make such a difference. The other day I was having like the worst day, and I was like sending my friend all these texts, and then I like went for a walk and I left the phone, which I know you guys get mad at me when I leave the phone, but sometimes I need to leave the phone. Like, don't you feel that way? Sometimes I'm like, I have to put the fucking phone down. Yeah. So I went for a walk without the dog, and I came back in and I texted my friend. I was like, sorry, I'm a changed woman. I'm totally fine. I just needed to walk outside. Sometimes you do need to touch grass.
Yeah, there's science behind it, but it's so healing. And like, we're meant to not have rubber in between Earth and our feet. Like, we're meant to connect to the planet.
Don't do the barefoot thing though. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What?
Like, have you seen these people who like, they take their soles out of their shoes and they go to Sephora and stuff? Like, they go to the mall, they go everywhere. So it looks like they have shoes on, like they'll have sneakers on, but then they cut the bottom off and they go like everywhere.
Okay, well, they have shoes that help transmit like...
Yeah, no, I know. You can get shoes that like,
I do barefoot, but like, I'll do barefoot like when I'm walking around the neighborhood on a sidewalk or in the park.
Yeah, I want you to be safe.
I'm not going to be at Sephora.
I don't want you at Century City, like wandering around the parking lot in bare feet with like a Air Force One covering the top of your foot.
I do walk barefoot outside of yoga. Like, sometimes I don't even want to put my shoes back on because I'm so just tired from hot yoga that I'll just walk to my car barefoot.
Can you drive barefoot?
I love driving barefoot.
You do?
Isn't it illegal?
I don't think so. How could that be illegal?
Someone told me, or maybe it was in Indiana. Because like, I love being, like, I used to tell my mom, I'm like, hey, is it bare? I would always ask her if it was barefoot season, which means it's just warm enough for me to be barefoot.
Oh my God, little Billie Lee.
Yeah.
Can I take my shoes off yet?
I want to be barefoot all the time, but not in public like that.
No. And I think that's probably like the experience too of like growing up on a farm and et cetera. Like, that's like who you are at your core. So what do you want people to walk away from in reading this book?
Just to feel enlightened and educated in like the best way. Like, this book is so inviting and it's pretty and cute.
Oh, it's super cute. You guys, look at how cute it is. It's like very Instagrammable.
Yeah, it's like, so cute.
I love the fonts. I love the layout. And one of the things that I think this book is very gentle.
I like the gentle approach, and I want people to read that. I think of Oprah, but like that aha moment where it's just like, oh, like for me, when I've heard some of these microaggressions, it even made me think like, not even that I knew exactly what I was saying, but the vibration and like how people reacted towards me. I'm like, I know that I was saying something that wasn't, that was a microaggression.
Right.
So I had these moments, and this book really goes there for a lot of my contributors and myself. And so it's a journey you're going on, but you leave feeling more empowered and just to be like a more kind, better person, a better human being in this world.
Yeah. And I think the whole idea though of like being sensitive, right? I've been told that so many times.
Oh, for sure.
My whole life. You're too sensitive. You took it too seriously. I was only kidding. I just think that is oftentimes a way to excuse bad behavior.
For sure. Oh, exactly. That's what it is. Every time I've been told that, like at so many of places in my work, like when I owned a restaurant, my staff would be like, boss, come on, you're being too sensitive. And I'm like, no, this is my savings. Like, this is what I need to happen. I need the kitchen. I need this to be a certain temperature. I need this to be that. Like, it comes rooted in like a place of like, I worked really hard for this and I need this to work.
Yep.
And a lot is on the line, but then you're just throwing something at me to cover up your own mistakes that I'm too sensitive. And that really bothered me. But it shows up in all different ways in my career, no matter what.
Do you think that I don't mean this about your reality career. Do you think that the restaurant industry in particular breeds microaggressions?
Yeah. I think the service industry for sure. Service and hospitality. Yeah. I mean, there's just some amazing contributors, but I have a couple like people in hospitality in this book. Whenever they talked about their microaggression and their experiences, it all made sense because I've had so many Karens or people come in and be surprised, or like this person is of a color, a black man, and like people would go in and be surprised that he was the manager. Like it's those, and not even like, they're not outright being racist. They're not saying anything
They
racist.
Sometimes even think they're complimenting.
Yes, that's the thing with microaggressions.
Like it's like the real woman comment, right?
Yes.
Like it's like, oh no, I'm being nice.
Yes.
Like, and so, or, I think that people, we see this a lot happening right now in the current election. Like people, no matter which way, you fall, but like I see a lot of people mispronouncing Kamala's name. And I just think that even if you don't want to vote for her, like giving her the dignity of pronouncing her name correctly is kind of like, that to me is basic human decency.
Exactly.
And I feel like that is, to me, that's gotten to the point of macro.
Yeah.
Because it's like people know that it's wrong, but like I think that, that's probably a microaggression she has encountered her entire life.
Oh, totally.
And I think the other thing that I really like about your book is, and this is a conversation I have with friends a lot, is like, because being in comedy, like we do encounter difficult moments. Like I'm only going to women and non-binary mics now. I mean, like I'll perform in front of men, that's fine. But like testing my material in front of guys who are like on their phone the whole time.
Oh, like
it's
open mic?
Yeah, at open mics.
Open mics are horrible.
Yeah, they're horrible but there are all female open mics, which is amazing.
And they're supportive. Like, yeah, isn't it something like Titty Witty or
Witty Titties is amazing. Titty Witties, I love it.
I've never been, but like I do mics sometimes and literally the dudes will just stare at me like they're going to kill me or like they're just like hate me. And then I'll go and do the exact same joke like at a show and it kills. Like people love it.
That's the thing. Like you can't use, if you're a comedian and you're listening to this and you're a woman or non-binary person, we cannot use those like open mics where it's just a bunch of dudes like taking up the entire row. It's bullshit. Okay. Go to a woman mic, go to a non-binary mic. There's Boys Drool at the Crow. There's Witty Titties has a mic. Dow Comedy has a mic. And those are the places I think to go and be in the bubble. And then take your stuff out. Cause like, you want to be like out there with other people. But yeah, I'm only doing those now because I just feel like the amount of comments that I get, I started putting my comedy on YouTube. Big mistake. I'm not stopping. But like I have had I put my stand up on TikTok and Instagram and like usually it goes over pretty well. Started putting stuff on YouTube. Oh my God.
People are mad.
People are so mean.
Oh my God. I did a joke about like, like the joke where I'm like, people say trans women are not women. Like, I know I'm a real woman. I once sent a guy 72 unanswered text messages.
Which is a great one. It kills.
It kills every time. But like, I posted that and people went off like, how dare you say cis women are like this? I'm like, it's a joke.
Oh my God. Also, we are.
But yeah. Like,
women are like that.
I'm so anxious. Like, I'm so like I get very anxious and very like crazy sometimes in relationships. It's just like I hear my girlfriends talk all the time and 90% of my girlfriends are cis women and we all do that. So like I hate when people take a joke and make it something like I'm making fun of myself almost in my entire set. And the one thing that I compare myself to a cis woman, it's like people are ripping
Do you think
me.
that like triggers something in people though?
Yeah, they're probably the one that sent 72 texts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, sweetie, talk to your therapist, not me. Like,
you know what? Remember when you used to have to pay per text?
Oh my God.
That was actually probably way better for relationships.
Right?
Right? Like you couldn't just, and you can remember when, like, I feel like you and I are on the same age. Remember when it was like, you would wait until like after 9 p.m. to call people? Like that was actually great.
Wow. You're bringing me back. Oh my God.
That was a totally different time.
It was.
Now it's like I have too much communication. But I do think like I agree with you. I made a joke the other day because I'm from this like very like I love where I'm from. I love where I grew up. It's like kind of like blue collar or whatever. And I made a joke about how there's 13 Dunkin' Donuts where I grew up. And somebody was like commented and was like, oh, you think that's something to be proud of that there's 13 Dunkin' Donuts in your town? I'm like, okay, why when people make comments that hurt people, do people go, oh, I'm just joking around? But then when people make actual jokes, people are like, excuse me, that's not something to be proud of. I'm like, fuck off.
Right. And get a life. Like these people that comment like so much stuff. I'm like, how do you have the time?
I mean, I don't think they're as busy as you, Billie Lee.
Yeah.
So tell us, what do you have coming up that you want to share with the class?
I'm working on so many amazing things. Can't talk about all of them, but they make me so happy and proud. And it's cool to just be creative in TV and film. My comedy, I'm going to New York. I'm going to be in New York doing a lot of comedy shows.
I'll be in New York next month. So let's hit up. I'll be there. Yeah.
Okay.
All over.
We'll definitely connect. But yeah, it's just mainly that I've been acting and going on auditions. I did a movie a month ago.
Oh yeah, with friend of the pod, Sammy.
Yeah.
Sammy Hendo.
Yeah,
we love
her.
Sammy. We call her Scrammy. Yeah, she's the
so
best.
Cute.
Yeah.
We had fun together. I was like, when you're on a movie set, it's like you become like so close really fast because you're like together for
all
hours
the time.
every day.
Yeah.
And I was going through like a whole thing with a friend. It was like drama. It was all over the internet. And I would have to like literally put the drama down and then go and act. Yeah, when I left, I wrapped and I left. Like for 2 days, I was like depressed.
Did you miss them? You missed
Yes,
everybody?
I missed them. And like, now I get it because I never acted before, but like I've always been friends with actors. And like you have this funk after a project.
Yeah, like you kind of come down like a high, like
Mm-hmm. And you're just like, you're just around a bunch of people for 2 weeks straight. It's like, but I can't wait for that to come out. And things are a lot. I wish I could share everything that I'm doing.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
You'll get there. This is the business, right?
Yeah.
Like things are, things come and go. And when you can announce things, it's amazing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm so happy for you for all of your success. And I'm so excited for you. And I love the book. And people can find you on social media. You're on Instagram. You're on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And you've been doing a lot of things on Spoon lately.
Yes. So I did a partnership with Spoon. And then Spoon is cool. I'm like getting more involved in TikTok. Like I like going TikTok live.
Oh yeah, TikTok live is fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Wait, do you see all these men on TikTok live with their gray pants showing their bulge? Every other TikTok live is literally like a dude. Like,
oh my God, you're on, listen, that's the TikTok I want to be on. I want to be on gray sweatpant TikTok. I'm on like Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen TikTok every night. He's like, hey, we're going to be going live at 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, here we go. I want to get on gray sweatpants TikTok.
I swear it's like every other one. I even made a TikTok video and I like literally did a green screen of all the dudes'
like you
bulge.
just swiping and like.
Yeah, like it's so insane to me. But I don't know, maybe the universe is like, she needs to get laid,
Thank you so much, Billie, for being here with me today. The book is Why Are You So Sensitive? And the answer is because of childhood trauma. But no, seriously, go get the book. And thank you, Billie Lee.
Thank you. You can pre-order anywhere books are sold. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, that is a wrap on another episode of Oddly Specific. I want to thank my lovely guest, Billie Lee, for joining us today. Don't forget to follow her on all the social media platforms and pick up her book, Why Are You So Sensitive? Navigating Everyday Unintended Microaggressions. As always, I want to thank all of you for listening. And I also want to give a special little shout out to everybody who subscribes at the Patreon Pals level. These are the folks who really make this happen. If you'd like to get a shout out on the podcast, you can subscribe. We'd love to have you. Right now, I want to give my shout outs to Allison Tyler, Annie Schreiber, Caitlin Duffy, Sean Sweet, Colleen McSweeney, Debbie Perillo, Erin Johnson, Grugu M, Jen Reichert, Jen Nash, Jennifer Yarrington, Jess, Catherine DeMezio, Kristen Zanotti, Lady Swamp Which Gives No Fucks, Lindsay Butler, Macy Malachek, Mark Knudsen, Stephanie Nicole, Tom's Law Firm because it is about Tom, Virginia White, and of course, San Fran Gal. Thanks so much, and we'll be back real soon. As always, don't forget to tell a friend about private equity.